as we speak, somebody coming out of a relationship that tore them apart. Now they're stronger. Right now, somebody coming out of financial debt and they finally able to execute on their dreams, execute on their passions, right? Right now, somebody is finally becoming a better version of themselves that they always destined to be. So when I tell you that you could be a better version of yourself, I don't mean that there's nothing wrong with you. I don't mean that. I just mean that you can actually be better than what you is right now.
I just sometimes I sit back and I just can't even believe this is my life. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you just get a chance to just interview people with extraordinary things, and it's just like, damn, like, look what you've created and look what you pursue. But with that being said, what's going on, everybody? It's That Ordinary Podcast with the extraordinary thoughts that tells you to stop being great and be extraordinary. I'm your host, Demetrius Thigpen, also known as Meech Speaks, and welcome back to another episode of Extraordinary Thoughts for the Ordinary Mind. Pause. Let me take you back just a little bit. 2015, I was in Sigonella, Italy. And I was doing my first MAI course. So I already had my own type of stressors going on. And I remember coming down into the common area. And as I come down into the common area, somebody's watching TV and they got the news on. And I remember sitting there and I stopped for a second. I don't know why I had to stop, but I needed to stop for this moment right here. And as I was sitting there, I see these two gentlemen. Now, 2015, I say I was a corporal. You know, I have my own type of stressors going on right now. And I mean, obviously, I'm currently forward. But I recognize those Marines on that TV. And they're being interviewed, and they do like the B-reel, and they show like the different aspects of them, and they're at a gym and they're doing this. And I'm sitting back the entire time and I'm thinking to myself, like, Marines, like, we really do that. You know, like, we could really take this and be able to do something bigger. I would carry that thought with me for the rest of my entire career. Like, I have never stopped thinking about it. Fast forward 2000, what was it, 19, 20?
Yeah.
I want to go on record and say that I was legitimately starstruck when I met you. I remember standing next to you and I'm listening to George Anthony talk and I'm thinking to myself, like, wow, he really does sound like that. I'm standing next to Koke and you walk in, and this is my first time meeting you. And it was at that event. It was at Josh's event. Yep.
Yeah, SB.
And I'm sitting there this entire time like, I can't believe this is the guy. This is the guy. Like, although it's been 5 years, this is that guy. I know exactly who this guy is. And I remember right when you said something to me, like, I had to get my bearings back to myself, like, Demetrius, get it together. Get it together.
Man, humble.
So this episode is definitely going to be a little bit closer to heart when you got somebody with 18 years of military experience. Let me rephrase that. This episode is going to be a little bit closer to heart when you got the founder of MSTANY. Let me rephrase that real quick, because this episode is closer to heart because I got Brian Gomez on the show. And this is the guy that actually like sparked a big entrepreneur bubble within me.
Man, chills. The intro it's way too far, way too much. Man, thank you. You don't even know. It's fitting that we get together right now in a time of transition that we're
Absolutely.
both coming out of and going into. So I appreciate you having me on the show. We're looking forward to it. We've been trying to make it happen, but God's plan, so it's meant to be when it's meant to be, and here we are today.
Always. You know, I remember when we were talking about it, it was right before the world ended. You know, I think it was before the new year. We were trying to lock that in, like December time frame. And I think that was right when you were just getting to California. So how is California?
Oh, man. It's been a transition. It's been an experience in many, many, many different ways that I can explain. From a professional level, there's been many up and downs that you and I have been discussing. Mm-hmm. Professionally, though, it's been great. Professionally, it's been, I can't tell you how great it is. It's been for me to just be here as a recruiting instructor, 8412 in the community, you know, and just being around Marines. I can't express it enough. So.
Nah, this is the thing, is that where are you coming from?
The Big Apple. You know, everybody knows Northeast.
The king of New York?
I want to say the king. Let me rephrase that. I don't want to be the king. Never the king. Maybe the mayor.
The mayor?
They used to call me the mayor when I was back east, you know?
Now, how do you like it? From New York, compared to New York, to California.
Oh, I'm a tropical person, so the weather to me is amazing, right? But coming from the Northeast, as you know, personalities are a little different, adjustments, you know. But we get paid to communicate, right? We get paid to adjust. So California is good. California is just a different environment that I had to adjust to, and wasn't easy, you know, from a professional level and the different personalities, and personally for me, you know. We talked about the mayor, and when I say that, it's just being able to, when you're somewhere where you're in your environment, you have everything you need, you know everybody, business, work, relationships, family, everything and anything that you wanted, you had it, and you're able to give it to come to an environment where, although I had several people in my circle, it was just a different world. So you're going from running the city, as you want to say, to starting at the bottom, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It just took some time to adjust. And then let's not forget, we got this pandemic going on. They kind of took someone who's used to being in the wild, kind of moving
100%.
around in the jungle, running everywhere. New York is fast. Every day is something to like, yo, sit down, stop, nothing.
I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. I hate California. like, let me get this. I don't mind Cali to a certain extent, but I'm gonna just be frank. I prefer LA more than I prefer San Diego.
That's you know, it's funny you mentioned that because I have a theory, and I speak to some of the guys. We probably mentioned this too. So North Cali, like Bay Area, is like, what do you do? LA is who do you know? And San Diego is kind of like, what do you drink? You know, what are you into type of thing. So people kind of talk a little bit more. I don't mess with LA too much because everybody's looking for something. And if you're looking for it, you're going to get it, right?
100%.
Or people trying to come up. And I think that's the differences in the West and East, kind of like LA and New York City environment. You know, I think there's a lot of people from LA that are here because they're from here. And there's people that come to LA in the search of something greater, which is fine. And the Northeast is just more people from New York. Like, you know, you're from New York and you're there because you've been there for many years prior to your mother. Your mother was there. Your mother moved from Puerto Rico to New York, and then you were there. Or your family in Harlem or wherever. Years of people been there, so it's hard for New Yorkers to leave New York and not come back. Like, people leave New York and somehow they always come back home. it's crazy to say, but that's the difference, you know. But I'm blessed where I can just, I don't know, I gel with anybody, you know. I can connect with people, so that's why I don't let the differences kind of break me down. But Cali's growing on me. San Diego in particular is growing on me, mainly because of the weather.
Yo, I mean, like if we took away like the traffic on the 5, I'll be okay. I'll be able to sleep at night, but.
Hey, I honestly haven't experienced it, right? Because remember, we're essential personnel, so hey, there was no first in August, September. I got here August, right? September, October, a little traffic, but then the holidays started coming and people started leaving. Since February.
Oh yeah, we have not really experienced it.
No, not at all. Recently, those.
Like, it just started. Yeah,
recently I was just like, oh, this is nothing. Remember, hey, you in New York, you got three-lane highway. You in the Cross Bronx. Anybody know about the Cross Bronx? And you trying to get out of New York City over the George Washington Bridge. You hit that Cross Bronx at 2 in the afternoon. You're not getting out to 1800, which is 6 o'clock. So you're stuck in there 4 hours because 100%. You can't get out. There's no. So like for me, people talk about traffic. Your traffic is pretty bad too.
You know, like I heard that, like I had Marines that come and they were like, I don't even have a driver's license because I've taken like the subway.
Train.
You know what I mean?
I ain't gonna lie. I was one of those cats. When I left New York, and I joined the Marine Corps, 9/11, you know, all that stuff. I didn't have a license, so when I got to North Carolina, I was driving. Don't quote me, no. I don't want to go to jail, but I was already driving, but I had to get my driver's license in North Carolina.
Right.
When I got there, when I left SOI, and I went and got my driver's license. I was like 18 in North Carolina. I didn't have a license in New York at all. I had a permit, but
same.
Just take the train. You got public transport, bus, train. You don't need nothing. You know, I used to take the train from the Bronx, South Bronx, all the way to Mashouda Parkway for school. Take the bus. My boys had cars. I had a couple friends that had cars in high school, so we didn't need it though.
Now, keeping it on the New York side real quick, can we talk a little bit about MSTANY?
Oh, yeah, Military Style Training Academy in New York. That was like a vision, you know. Before MSTANY, there was a place called Pure Power Boot Camp, and I only mention it because that was what opened up the doors at first, you know, on how you can impact people, civilians, with some of the training that we've received from the Marine Corps. So Pure Power, Lauren Brenner, you know, I thank her because she was one of the ones that opened up the door for us in the Northeast area. And unfortunately, she had an accident, and then everything went well for her and her family, but she moved on, and Pure Power closed down. And then from there, I waited a little bit. I was focusing on work and stuff, especially with the duty I was in. I was on I&I at the time, and then we were getting ready to go into recruiting. So, of course, the focus comes into the business, to Marine Corps. Marine Corps always been first for me. But waited 2 years, and it just came back. Linked up with my partner, Irv, and I said, yo, we got to get this done. We need this. Like, this needs to happen, because what we were doing before, it was helping other people. It was helping a lot of the people within the area. And that's when MSTANY came about, and we just ran with it, man. We just ran with it. And I remember the first MSTANY we opened up was in a basement.
Oh, okay.
In the basement, the first one, in Hempstead. So if you know anything about Long Island, New York, I'm in Hempstead, New York, which is, I don't want to say the hood, but it's not the best area to open up a business, But there's a lot of Hispanics, a lot of African American people within that area. It's a good community. It's just middle to low income, right?
Right.
But we felt that was the right place. We found a good location. My partner Irvin, who's an interior designer by heart, he can build you anything out of anything. He's like, "Gee, this is the spot." So he took me into a basement, and I looked at it. It was like a warehouse. There's a bunch of stuff in there. I looked at Irv. I said, "Irv, you're Bob the Builder, man. If you see it, I believe it." 3 months go by. He takes me back to the same place, and it's an open layout. And all I saw, it wasn't completed, but we had the hurdles, and we had the green tarp down.
I seen.
And then he had the camel, which that's what stuck with me, that we stick to, which is the orange, black, and green camel on the wall. So if you notice, MSTANY is black, orange, and green. Those are our main colors. And I was like, that same day, I was at lunch. I got out of work, finished my work stuff. I went back. There's a Zumba studio upstairs. So what we do, I go to the Zumba instructor. I say, "Can I take 12 of your girls?" So I go upstairs. In Spanish, hasta unos días, necesito 12 personas. I went into Spanish. The ladies looked at me like I'm crazy. And I said, "Downstairs." So the girls went downstairs. And it was just me. And I already had an idea of what I wanted to do.
Right.
I gave them the intro, spoke to them a little bit. And I said, let's kick it. So, we don't do we do dynamic warm-ups. We get the body going, get them warmed up, 5 minutes. 10 minutes into the class, when I start blasting them, I'm like, run, down, up, let's go, let's kick it, right? Jumping jacks, 1, 2, 3, boom. And instantly, 3 girls, stop. Everybody else kind of looked at me. One girl started cursing me out. Don't nobody scream at me. Don't nobody tell me what to do. The other girl's like, I'm out of here. I don't want to do this. And I was like, all right, bye. Get out. I don't need you here. Get out. And the ladies looked at me and then spoke Spanish and stuff. So I was like bilingual. I'm like going back and forth. But all 12 of those girls are still my clients today.
Really?
All 12 of those ladies, I want to say, are still my clients today. It was just an initial shock to what we were trying to do. And me not knowing, right, domestic issues, personal problems, So when I'm coming at them as a male figure, being authoritative and aggressive is something they weren't prepared for. But all 12 of those ladies are with us today.
I feel like transition is just going to be like the whole driving force behind this episode. And I remember seeing that. I remember seeing y'all, and as they showed the Be Real, I was like, they really out here yelling at these people. Like, they really, I remember really sitting there, and I'm out there training like Marines in McMap, and I'm thinking to myself like, they really doing this? Like, we could get paid to do this? Like, oh my God.
Yeah, we pushed the limits a little bit. We definitely we want to provide a more of a mental experience than a physical, right? When you open up a business, a training facility, the physical aspect of it is going to happen regardless, right? We're sitting down here in Brainstorm with George Anthony's gym, and they do things a little different out here, right? So GA focuses on a lot of different type of training techniques for different people, and that's what we're trying to provide at MSTANY. And the East Coast is more like, I understand that you want to get in shape, but do you really? Do you really want to make a change? And it's not only from a physical, it's more the mental aspect. So that's our focus. That was our main focus. So it's hard to introduce to people military style, and we were nervous at first to call it military because people are afraid or intimidated by that word when it comes to military style boot camps and stuff.
100%.
personal training group setting is what we do, but we focus on the mental aspect at first, because we tell people get out, they come back because it's a challenge. You're gonna quit on something right now, then you're gonna quit on yourself. So you want it easy, you don't have to come here.
100%, 100%. And I feel like that's just something that a lot of people I feel like we just get away from that on just too many. Life ain't easy. In fact, if life was easy, I don't think we'll be checking out so early like we normally do. But the problem is that as soon as we face some form of adversity, as soon as somebody yell in your face, as soon as somebody punch you in the face, as soon as things don't go your way, you wanna check out, you wanna leave. And it just, it's crazy because it's like you want to check out and you expect somebody to grab you and tell you, no, don't. You want to be the victim, but if somebody open the door and say, go ahead, leave. That changes the whole spectrum of it.
Yep.
And just listening to it. And when you talk about that transition of, the victim walks in, they think that, all right, you yell at me, I'm about to leave. Then all of a sudden it's like, all right, well, fine then. We don't want you here. No. You're going to want me here. And I feel like you play into the human nature of it, of humans just wanting to be wanted. Like, no, you are going to want me here. I'm going to stay and I'm going to make you want it.
And that's exactly what we focus on. You're going to want to be at the gym. And then we tell people, hey, it's like boot camp, right? We go to Marine Corps boot camp. You've got 12 weeks, right? That's the basic to train Marine. You go to SOI, MCT, whatever. Now you're getting further training. You become more efficient. Now you're becoming that professional, right? So it takes a while to build a full-blown Marine. Mm-hmm. And that's the concept we do at MSTANY. But when it comes to time, when your training is done, then you're going to have to go out into the fleet, right, in the Marine Corps. Same thing at the gym. My focus is you come here. I say, I need you here 3 to 6 months, right? After that 6-month mark, you're going to make a decision whether you want to continue to train with us so you can get better. But we tell people, I need you here to 3 to 6 months. After that, you'll have made a transition or a transformation. And you're going to go out into the world, and you're going to go do different things. You're going to train. And that's what we're trying to instill in them. And we build that team, like that family aspect within my training facility that people just stay and people just continue to get better and continue to progress. But we tell them, hey, we don't need you here forever because if I keep you here forever, that means I'm not doing something right. But you think it's a business, right? So of course I want clients to stay. So I'm not, we're not, of course we got to pay the bills and we're doing this to continue to grow, but people just stay.
Now, just to switch gears just a little bit, just speaking of stay, this MSTANY this wasn't just founded in somewhere that you were just so happen to be stationed at. This is founded in your home. Yeah. Like you legitimately have ties to this place.
Correct. Yeah, that's the beauty of being in New York for so long, right? I'm helping people within my community, not only from MSTANY, but we talked about Toys for Tots with the Marines and everything else that I'm involved with within the community, but just being able to be in my environment and help my people and help kids that are getting ready to join the Marine Corps as well, because we bring them to the training facility and we show them a little bit of what boot camp is going to be like. These are the kids from the Bronx. These are the kids from Brooklyn, Queens, where I was raised on, that we didn't have that. We didn't have this coming up. So being able to do that in my area, man, that to me that's what drives me. That's what kept me motivated, and just, it wasn't really the money thing. The money's going to come. It was just being in my own community and helping out.
I always wanted to ask this question. And I asked this question, and I feel like I should ask this question. Let me rephrase, not even that I should. I feel like I'm compelled to ask this question right now. I remember when my recruiter met me. He was going in one direction. I was going in another direction. The reason why I stopped is because for some reason the clothes that he had on just didn't match. He had the royal blue pants, the khaki shirt, the red stripe down, I'm describing the deltas, but for me, I was just like, what the hell is that? What he did for me, and I remember somebody asking me this question before. They said, who do you think is more important, the drill instructor or the recruiter?
Let's walk this line. Let's walk this line. Let's walk this line.
And
I know the answer, and I can give you a good explanation for it, but that's just me.
And although both the left hand and the right hand play two different roles, and they're both equally important, the one that changed my life the most was my recruiter.
Tell me more.
And I remember where I was at when I met that man. Needless to say, like, it had a lot to do with a lot of illegal things that I normally wasn't supposed to be doing. It had a lot to do with the fact that I couldn't afford to go to college. It had a lot to do with the fact that I was already going to be a parent before I was even old enough to drink. I was already going to be a statistic in my environment before I even attended the college class to know what statistics were. Now, although my drill instructor changed me into something, my recruiter is the one that founded me. So now as I sit across this table and I talk to you as a career recruiter and you have those family ties and you pick those people that are not, these ain't just people that you just station with. This is your home. I just really wanted to know the mindset behind that and what is it like to really like change a life.
You hit it in the nail, right? We come from an area where not everything is easy. You talk about statistics, right? I have my son, whose birthday was just a couple days ago, 17 years old right now. His 17 and my 17 are totally different, right?
I like that. Where's he going?
And then I just talked about it because even though he's going to have to face his own battles, right? But at 17, I was going to combat. And my 17 was 9/11, right? Mm-hmm. So people can't forget that day. So my 17 was different. I already had made the decision that I was going to combat. I had enlisted in the Marine Corps to be an infantryman. So my 17 and my son's 17, nothing to compare. However, our environment, man, we Bronx, projects, single mom, dad wasn't around. I couldn't, my two brothers passed away. My brother got killed in Knickerbocker Park. We talked about this, right? At 19, handcuffed to the bed, needle to the arm, to his friends, right? I could have easily went down that route, and I had to go. I couldn't stay there. So luckily, the recruiter, Gunny Castaneda, was in my school. I used to play baseball, whatever. I stayed away from trouble. I did pretty good. I love the ladies as usual, but I stayed out of trouble, And I used to play ball. I did good at school. So just because I didn't want to, I already had lost too much. And my mother always took care of me. She did the right thing. Even though she didn't have anything, she gave me everything she had. So I'm grateful for that lady. Gunny Cass's day, he came to school. And the minute I saw him, before him, I had never really, before Gunny Cass walked in, 9/11, I already seen them. 9/11 took place. So I already had made him in my head like, yo, this can never happen again. Something in me said this can't happen here, so I'm enlisting. But I had not seen the Marine recruiter yet. Gunny Cass walked into the school, and that was it, man. He had the blues on because he had another kid in the school. And I went to the gym. I went straight to his table. I said, I'm enlisting. I said, I want to join. And he slowed me down, and he asked me a couple questions or whatever. And then he looked at me and he said, you know what we do? And I said, not really. But I know I want to be a Marine. Mm-hmm. And that was it, man. He took me into the wing. Growing up, the recruiter, man, to me, all the recruiters that I grew up under, meaning the Gunny Grells, the Kuros, all these guys that now became career recruiters, and I've actually had the pleasure of working with them. But when I seen those individuals in the office, the way they carry themselves, the way they talk, against that New York environment, the swag, and they were changing people's lives. The Northeast is not easy, right? That's not easy. Not an easy environment. We all have struggles, everything, everybody goes through some stuff, but those guys just took over and they ran their sectors. They ran their area. Everywhere they went, people showed love. Everywhere. I used to run up and down with Gunny Cass. Gunny Cass ended up leaving, so I found under Gunny Rodriguez, who took me over because I was in the ship. And those guys, man, they looked different. They moved different. Their swag was different. And then there were recruiters, and then their bosses were just the whole environment, man. I just liked the way they moved, and I wanted to be that. Master Gunny Grell, who was the district training team chief, he was the one that pulled me into New York when I was supposed to go recruiting, because I was supposed to go somewhere else in the Northeast area, but somewhere north. He's not going nowhere. He's staying in New York with us. But that man, big black dude, mustache, nice fade, chain, yoked. But he was the smoothest communicator. And he can talk to anybody and get anything done without any problems, without any riffraff. He'll make you want to jump off the roof because you believe that you're going to survive. And guys like that is the guys that brought me up. So my recruiter, man, I never had a problem with my recruiters. A lot of kids, my recruiter lied to me, this, that, or whatever. I've never take that approach. And I tell my guys, be yourself, be 100%. So the drill instructor, you cannot take nothing away from those guys, because those guys take kids who are undisciplined and mold them and transition them and make them the Marines they're going to be.
100%.
That's the basic, right? But as a recruiter, man, and now because I'm a recruiter, and I love both, because MSTANY is the drill instructor that I wanted to be. Mm-hmm. I get to be the DI.
I picked that up a lot.
Right?
Yeah, I picked that up.
Not that I wanted to be a DI, but I just feel like I have the energy within me to just drive and motivate people, right? So MSTANY gives me a little bit of that drill instructor, heart. But to be able to communicate and sit in somebody's office and bring people back in the Marine Corps, bring kids into the freaking, it's different, man. So the recruiter, man, is a challenging job because people not used to know, right? Sales. We don't join the Marine Corps to sell.
Right.
Now I understand, that's why a lot of Marines have issues at times because they find it difficult, but it's just something that makes you more well-rounded once you complete that task, and the impact you have on kids forever and people and Marines is just pretty cool. So to me, I not because I am a career recruiter, but just because of the way I was brought up by my recruiters and the impact you see, it's just different, man. It's different. Just
I like
the streets.
I just really like the way that you drove that. Just drove that whole conversation. Because I was going to ask, what was it like growing up? Let me rephrase, not growing up. You're 17, 9/11, you're about to join the Marine Corps. That right there, that thought process right there. What was that like? Because this would be the first time I've actually ever talked to somebody because when 9/11 happened for me, I was in the 6th grade. I was like 10 or 11. You're an adult. And not only that, you're about to make one of the biggest decisions in your life. Can you just walk me through that?
But I was at school when the first plane hit the building. Boom. And then we're in the Bronx. So from the Bronx, you can see into the city. So you can see what's going on, but not really because it's kind of far. You see the smoke. So you're not really thinking what's going on. All I know is that they're sending, everybody's going home out of school. The trains are not working. Nothing's going on. Everything's shut down. So people got to walk. So just seeing that and living through that, it's one of those things that you don't want to experience again, right? So it was like a calling, man. It was just, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's going on. But seeing that and seeing the people and knowing people and it was just one of those feelings that I was like, hey, it's time. I'm going.
Having experienced combat before, afterwards, do you ever recall to that moment right there?
Yeah. Combat is fast, too. Combat is not, that's different.
Not
people go through a lot of stuff, this is the first time I ever actually talked or mentioned anything about being in combat. Yeah. Listen, I don't have a problem. That's the two sides of my career, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's nothing, bro. Nothing. Okay. It's like, that's the two sides of my career. Combat to me, man. My first 9 years in the Marine Corps, I was an infantry guy. I was an OT-31 machine gunner. Iraq, the Fallujah, multiple deployments. I was in Japan. 2-6, went to Bagram for the elections, for Karzai elections in Afghanistan, and then Fallujah, and that's, you talked about you having a kid. When my son was born, I was overseas, so I didn't know if I was able to see my son when he was born. I came back from deployment, my son was born. He was 6 months.
I know that feeling.
So it's like now I've been gone, but yeah, man, it was just, I knew my purpose, man. No matter what happened, I just felt like I did the right thing, because people forget, no matter what conspiracy, no matter what's going on, that day changed everybody's lives, that were within that period. And you made a decision. And to me, that was, every time I was out there, I was doing the right thing for my family, That's all I cared about. College, we could have done different things. I could have, but I wanted to go. And I wanted to be in the infantry. Not really knowing what infantry was. I didn't know much about the Marine Corps, but I just knew I wanted to go. And I knew that every Marine, a rifleman, right? I knew that Marines, my mother was shook because she had to get.
You had to get the parents' consent, yeah.
Right? So that's one of the hardest things, especially in a time of combat, that a recruiter man has to do. Or any time you got to get PC.
And then especially being from that environment, right? And everything.
And then my mother was crying. My mother was in tears. The recruiter Gunny Cass is there. He's like, ma'am, ultimately it's his decision, and I understand the time that we're in, And my mother, she always supported every decision I made, even though I was young. And she looked at me, she cried, she signed the parental consent because my mother knew that I was going to combat. She knew. But my mother always believed that somehow I would always come back. My mother's very spiritual lady, believes in God. She doesn't go to church much, but she has her candles and she prays and she says her prayers. And my mother just has a way of seeing things, and she always felt comfortable that I would always return home.
I remember somebody asked me my third year in the Marine Corps. I had a cousin, they were doing a report, and they asked me, they said, why did you join if I stay home? And were you scared about going to combat X, Y, and Z? And I said, it was either I was going to go to a different country and go to combat, or I was just going to go around the corner and go to combat. You know, and I think about that a lot, and it made me just recall to that exact moment. You know, that when you grow in those type of environments, regardless of the situation, you gonna experience this. It's either at your leisure or it's gonna be at your environment's leisure. And it just really just puts into perspective the type of man that you are. I don't know why I'm just getting so choked up. I'm captivated by it.
Goes to the
you
point,
know,
man. It goes to your point, like you just said in the head. My first dead body. And I hope I'm not going into too much. Right? My first dead body wasn't in combat.
Right.
It was in 163rd Fox Street. I live in 940. We were playing off the wall. Pichon was the guy's name who got shot. Right. Whatever drug dealings were going on. Something happened. Another guy comes up on his name was Alex. May he rest in peace as well, because he died that same day down the block. Comes up with a Beretta, oddly enough, 9mm Beretta, which is our freaking pistol, right? So just I qualified with the Beretta many times after, right? So the first time I seen the Beretta was not lethal weapon, was that day when he's shooting Pichon. Boom, 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 boom. The guy crawled into the store, 2 more shots. Alex runs a block down the street. He gets shot by somebody else. So they sent him to kill Pichon. Somebody that we grew up in the neighborhood, good dude, took care of us, give us candy money. I was 12, 13? That was my first year when I moved from Puerto Rico to New York, because my mother had moved because I have a sister who's in the wheelchair handicapped, so medical facilities are better over here. But I'm not even 1 year from Puerto Rico, and boom, that's my first dead body.
I remember, damn, that's fucking heavy. But it also, it makes me feel, my first 4 years in the military, I felt like I just wasn't supposed to be here. And I, my MOS, being heavy equipment, and, not a lot of black people are in that particular field. So I'm around all of these people that I feel like can never relate to me. And I remember, because we, obviously, some of us hadn't even deployed yet. And I remember, my chief wants to coming out there, the OIC comes out there and he says, raise your hand if you have ever shot a gun before. Everybody hand, a lot of us hands go, we got hunters and X, Y, and Z there. My hand go up. People look at me like I'm crazy. They said, now, raise your hand, keep your hand up if you have ever shot at someone. My hand's the only one that's still up. They say, keep your hand up if you've ever been shot at. My hand's the only one up. And I felt proud, but at the same time, I felt alienated. I felt ashamed. And, even now at this moment right here, I think back and I thank my environment. Because because I had been exposed to that, it allowed me to be trained for this now. And then now just sitting across from you and seeing and hearing somebody that experienced the exact same things. And just the question that I have is, growing up through that, already experiencing it, and then going through those trials and those tribulations and experiencing that, do you think because of that, it allowed you to be able to get through it a lot differently?
100%. I mean, coming up from a certain, growing up in certain environments, teaches us a little, people talk about street wants, common sense, a little bit of, being situational awareness, there's a lot of guys that are very, very smart, smarter than me, right? And guys that can build you whatever, and guys that could do anything, but when it came to leading Marines or just taking care of your people and not being worried about anything because you trained the guys, you prepared yourself mentally, physically. You never know what's gonna happen when you're out there, right? But you just know that you did everything and anything you could to make sure your team was ready.
100%.
And then coming up in New York, I was alone. I had my father, nothing. It was me and my mom and my sister. So I kind of make decisions, but I will always have good people around me that take care of me, or that told me, "G, don't do this," or "G, don't do that." But I always made my own decisions. So, robbed, jumped, had to skedaddle, had to run a couple of times. It's that kind of just molded me, and I was good. Like I said, I was a good kid. I was never a troublemaker. I was never out in the streets doing a lot, but I knew how to get around. That just put a different mentality when I got into the Marine Corps, being different, being louder, being just from a different area. I was blessed to go to SOI with a bunch of cats from New York. We all linked up. Brooklyn, Queens, one of LaCorna, he's an NYPD officer right now, a good friend of mine. We served. So, but when we went to the fleet, we kind of split up. And I was a machine gunner when I got to the platoon. And there was a bunch of country white dudes, big, yoked up, and then that was stop loss, stop free. So a lot of guys during that time were about to get out, but got held up to go overseas. So those guys were already disgruntled. You know, here I come. My introduction to the platoon was I got put in a room and, hey, welcome to the platoon. Let's book it. So it was a couple motormen, big guys. I was a lot smaller when I got, than I am now. I'm not the biggest guy, but I was a lot smaller then. That was my intro. I had to throw down with some of the motormen in the room because my machine gun section was somewhere else. So they were messing with me. But I think that because I defended myself and I didn't back down, and those guys took me under the wing and they trained me well.
I will say that definitely, like, growing up in that type of environment changes your character a completely different way. And, you see, one of the saddest stories is like when you see somebody that cannot make that transition, and I feel like transition is going to echo throughout this entire episode. But I feel like when I was going through boot camp, when I was going through MOS school, when I was going through the military, I had to be able to make this transition. And I had to tell myself, I'm not in Detroit no more. You're not in Detroit no more. You're not on X, Y, and Z.
Failure to adapt. They send you home. I said this in a video before, and that was me. We made the transition. I wanted to be there. I wanted to be a Marine, not knowing what it's gonna come down to, but I knew that I was gonna be in my own environment. And what I'm doing now is helping me move from where I was at. So make that transition. And I go back to my recruiters. They prepare me for it. And they told me, G, it's gonna get real, and there's gonna be around people you don't know, different environment, different ethnicities, different races. And that's why I love the Marine Corps so much, man. When you live it about it, if you think about it, in a platoon, any platoon, you're gonna have a white dude, Asian dude, a black dude, and some sort of Puerto Rican, whether it be Dominican, Puerto Rican, some sort of Hispanic cat. And you look at a fire team, and your fire team is that. It's diverse. It's not one color, one nothing. And then we all wear green or we all wear desert, and we all gonna go out there together, and hopefully we all return home together. And all of us do. And the ones that do, you gotta carry the torch. So, for me, being able to adapt into the Marine Corps lifestyle was not challenging. I was tested, and it was there to prepare me because we were going to combat. There was no sugarcoating that. We weren't prepared to. We were going. We knew we were going.
Right.
So, hey, you want to get trained or you want to die?
Heavy. Now, just I just want to change the whole trajectory of where the episode is going, because here we are with roots in New York. We have a business in New York. We have community ties in New York, family ties in New York. The entire military fresh network. I was thinking that George Anthony, Brainstorm, I thought all of this was in New York. I did not know. I'm in Camp Pendleton. I didn't know this was up the street from me. All of that in New York. Boom. Here we are in California.
Hey, you mentioned the name, and I said it earlier. We have Brainstorm, GA. So, because everything was in New York, and the beauty of, the Military Fresh Network, and not even that, just these little things that we carry in our hands 24/7 on the social media platform, that's whatever it be, Instagram, Facebook, whatever we're using, that was key in my transition to the West Coast. Huge. Because had I not been able to meet the George Anthonys and some of the other people that are already in Cali, then it would have been a worse transition than it was for me this first year, right? Because I would have been completely alone in a new environment, which we're going to make it happen, right? We want to make it happen, whether it be painful or smooth, but it was a lot smoother, right? Because GA had came to New York already. I have met George Anthony. We've done events. We were together for almost 2 years prior to me coming out here. The Cocays, the Darnells, they were already out here. I came to Cali and we broke bread before they came to New York. So I was already kind of like establishing a little bit of a network out here regardless, right? But it was all unplanned. Right? I didn't know I was coming to New York. I didn't know I was coming to California when I first met GA. I met GA on social media when we were doing an event, the Military Fresh Network. We're doing the Fifth Fest in New York, and he put a comment on Instagram. He's, yo, how do I get down? And now, my brother, I expect you to be here. I didn't say, how do you get down? I said, I expect you to be here. He said, check, roger that. But before he came to New York, I flew to California one day prior to the event for a slate that was going on. Again, I'm blessed by the opportunities the Marine Corps has given me to connect with the people I've connected. So I come to Cali, I woke in the Brainstorm, I'm like, yo, you ready? So George flew to New York, and I was still in California. So George Anthony, he and not met any of my partners, Tony, which is my partner, MSTANY. He's one of the main trainers over there, also my business partner. Retired gunner, Sean, 20 years in the Marine Corps. We call him the Beast.
I've seen him.
That guy's on another level. So George shows up to New York. I'm still in California. Where George walks into the gym, and we don't open up the floor just to anybody, right? Because it's like boot camp. You're not Jordan Short just run the deck. If another guy comes into your house is running your deck, and George Anthony showed me this a little bit. Somebody else comes to your deck, that means you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. Somebody walks in and runs your deck. But we knew that he could do it. So Tony goes, yo. George goes in, and Tony goes, kill it. And George came in there and just freaking ran the house. Like, ran the house. And all my clients, they're not used to that. You know, they're like, they don't know no better. They just know me, Tony, and one of our other trainers. But he walked in, everybody was like locked on. Here I am in Cali, and George is running it. So I bring that to say, God was already giving me not everything that I needed, but he was hooking me up with some pieces that will allow me to get through this transition of California, which was, like I said, from a personal standpoint, was challenging. But if I didn't have Georgie, I didn't have, the Kokes and Darnells and some other people that are coming along the line later on into this year that I've been here, it would have been a lot challenging.
I just really want to take a moment and just say, like, it's crazy how God worked. Like you might meet somebody and have an interaction with somebody a year, a week, a month prior to a major thing happening, but you don't even realize that the thing that's about to happen, that event that happened before, that's about to come around circle for what's about to happen. It's like the behind the scenes movements that you like, damn, like,
it's bigger than us.
This
is bigger than us. This is bigger than, like, we think we control everything, but a lot of people talk about energy. A lot of people talking about speaking into existence, and a lot of people talking about a lot of things that are happening. Social media is highlighting a lot of that stuff,
right?
But that's not new. Mm-hmm. The universe has been around. Law of attraction is something that's been around forever,
100%,
for ages,
100%,
right?
Yeah.
But now, because of social media, but we've been speaking things into existence for the longest, and that it's beautiful to see coming full circle. So, yeah, it wasn't planned. I didn't know. Once I found out I was leaving, I found out in the beginning of 19 that I was coming to California at the end of 19. I found out. I already knew, like, the slave was happening, people were moving, and I was like, yep, I'm moving to Cali.
Right.
I think I called GA like the same day. I think, yeah, I'm going to Cali. We planned it. But before we even talked about it, when GA came, we talked. I said, yo, what if I get stationed in California? So we were already, the ball was rolling, so.
You already had spoke that into existence.
It was already out there,
Yeah.
It was already out there. I told myself I was going to be in New York and work in New York because a lot of my recruiters were in New York for a long time. I did that when I was a poolee. I'm going to work in this building. I said it, and I ended up working in the building. I worked in Garden City. So it's scary, When I came to Cali, though, for a little bit, I think I did lose my sense of purpose.
Can you elaborate?
I did have the pieces in place, right? I had people that were helping me, but I was the mayor, and now I'm like nothing.
And I really just want to take a moment and just pause for a second, because I know this feeling. And it's about that, once again, like, transition just echoes throughout this. And I ask this, two different parts of me are asking you this question right now. It's the me that's about to experience it, and the me that has experienced something like this. And the me that's experienced something like this, I remember being pulled out of my platoon, being gone for 8 months up to a year, and coming back and asking myself, like, what am I supposed to be doing here? Everybody already has their purpose. Everybody is already doing these things. And now the me that's in the future is asking you this, and we can call it like Gemini Man or X, Y, and Z, but I'm asking you this in the sense of, I know what I'm supposed to be doing here. I know my role here. You know what I mean? Everybody already has got their own things. I've established myself here. What am I supposed to do when I get out there? Like, yeah, I know I got a job, but who am I out there? That's the question.
Hey, we're ourselves. Nothing changes. We have the platforms, right? We have the tools. We have the internet. We have these mics that are connecting. It's just going to grow, And that's where I fell short, because I started doubting myself and started, questioning my ability to continue to network and meet people and grow. And it was just a small window, right? Like, from late after the holidays was really, my son came from New York for the holidays, and when he left, right? That's when I was like, oh. But luckily, then COVID hit, so everything slowed down. But slowly but surely, people could say, oh, gee, nobody knows what I went through. People could be like, oh, but it's not that bad. It's not that you in Cali. What's so? No, it was tough. It was tough.
Yeah.
It was tough. So luckily, like I said, having you guys, right? As the year went on, the year got better. 2020, I'm gonna be honest, it was a rough year for a little while, but it's been a good year in many different ways because relationships have gotten stronger, bonds have gotten better. The people that are around me are we just connected in different levels because of the pandemic, right? Because of what's going on. So we just gotta continue to grow, man. We have the tools. I myself smacked myself in the face a couple of times. This last trip to New York was good for me, because it kind of recharged my batteries a little bit. You know what I'm saying? But now I'm back, man. I'm here, and we gotta continue to grow, continue to push. Like we can do it. We gotta continue to grow and continue to push because we can, because we have the ability to. So these tools that we have, we just gotta go, man. You're gonna go when you go to Virginia to the Mace. You're gonna be in an environment with professionals. You're gonna be teaching people. You're gonna be helping people. Plus the platform that you have.
I'm sorry. I watched it and I heard it throughout the.
Hey, clear it out.
My bad.
Clear it out. You're good. The platform that we have, man, this is just another piece of it. You're adding now. Now you're going to a different location with different personalities, with different people who you're gonna be able to connect with. And it may not be everybody, but it's gonna be somebody in there that's gonna benefit from you being there. So.
I remember when we locked in earlier this year, we said we're gonna lock in the episode, and obviously life happens, life happens. And I was like, dang, I remember talking to you and having that clarity call, and I was like, damn, a lot of things that he's talking about, I'm experiencing right now. And I was just blown away by the similarities, and I feel like we don't give enough energy we don't give enough acknowledgement to what happens when we change our environments, when we make these changes in life. We don't allow ourselves to be upset. I know I woke up this morning, I was upset. I was sad because although, yes, I'm about to make a big change within my life, although I'm about to do something I never thought that I would want to do, a dream of mine, I'm also leaving. I'm going to miss people. I'm going to miss y'all, and I remember having that conversation with you and just thinking to myself like, damn, this shit is real. But just like what I had said earlier, it's amazing how you might witness something and you need to witness that because full circle is about to happen to you. So I really take a moment and just get my words. They get so.
People automatically assume that because we're in the military, we're accustomed to moving, right? Mm-hmm. That's the thing. You move every 3 to 4 years, and you're right. I was blessed to be in the East for such a long time, just by the powers that be, the ability and the positions that I was in. I didn't plan to stay there. It just happened in a line in my career, kept me there that long. But it's still hard to move around, and you can't stay with yourself. You can't stabilize. You can't be. Maybe you're doing great things and now you gotta go. But because we have these tools, social media, we have the internet and all these things, man, we shouldn't even have to skip a beat, we should be able to kind of continue and pick up because now we have, this. And the people we stay in contact with, because we have these tools, they're gonna be there. And if the people kind of disappear or whatever, because we all have life situations that we gotta take care of, then maybe it was just time to grow, right? We outgrow a situation, outgrow a scenario. And now that I sit here now, a year later, and some change, it was good that I left New York. It was good. It was a perfect timing for me to leave. It was great because now I'm over here, and all I'm doing is I'm bettering myself because of the people that I'm around now. I'm making myself better. I'm making myself more marketable, one, from a Marine Corps standpoint, right? Because now I'm successful in the Northeast. Mm-hmm. I'm successful in the West Coast. It's not my doing, it's by my team. Because nothing that I do, I'm just there to assist and train, but they're all performing, So the team is being successful. So now, okay, maybe it's not just that I was in New York and I was comfortable. I became uncomfortable and I came here and the team is doing great professionally, right? So it's needed. Change is needed. It's for growth, and I didn't want to see it at first, but I know it's necessary. And I'm enjoying it now, and we're coming out of that dark phase of regret, and now we taking action. and we making moves, and things are happening, and we back to meeting good people, and back to connecting, and back to talking about the events that we need to lock on and things we need to do. So it's perfect. It's perfect. And then as you're getting ready to head out, and I'm getting ready to come out of my damn little dark environment, we're both freaking going to a new place, and we're gonna continue to grow. So it's been an experience, but it's fun, man. We gotta embrace it. We can't fight it.
Absolutely. And as we come to a close with this episode, is there any last save rounds that you would want to leave? Like, if you could just leave one piece of advice for somebody, what would it be?
Hey, don't want to do it. We gotta do it. We don't want to do some of the things we have to do. We don't want to stay in shape. We don't want to continue to carry the torch and continue to do the right thing and progress. We got to do it because the people that depend on us, and I can't be staying I can't hold back because I know that there's people that depend on us, that the people that we can help. And there's people that's willing to help us. So we just got to continue to grow, man, continue to push forward, and things will get better.
100%. Now, just like that, another extraordinary thought left this ordinary mind. I hope you enjoyed this episode half as much as I enjoyed making it. Any handles? Where can I find you? Where can we find you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's the G-Man_ETP.
This was the first time I ever said your full name out loud. Like, I thought I was saying it wrong because I had never said it before.
Yeah, G-Man_ETP. And ETP stands for endurance to pain. And that's a whole nother episode of something I believe in. And I have a tattoo on my leg and in my body. The key to survival is endurance to pain. And that's what resonates. So I'm on Instagram mainly,
I did not know that's what it meant.
Yeah.
Wow.
The key to survival is endurance to pain. You could correlate that, you could connect that, you could paint that to anything, So I wanna close off by bringing someone that's been in the room the whole time. Who's without this person, a lot of the stuff that I've been through, I've probably not been able to go through it because he was the one that was to my left and to my right at all times. Whether he was screaming at me, yelling at me, or checking me when he needed to be checked. But I'm grateful for this man to be here, and we remiss if we don't get him in the podcast in with us. So, hey G, come on, yo. Hey,
I was like, moment of transparency. I had been looking over at George Anthony this entire time, and I was thinking to myself, like, how do I ask for him to show up on the show without like taking away from this episode?
This is why we're here, man. We're connected, so it wouldn't be an episode if I didn't bring GA at least to close it out, say a few words with we call him the voice.
And me and you still have to sit down regardless.
Absolutely.
You still have to sit down regardless. Again, I don't want to step on no toes or anything like that. Obviously, we all eat.
All right, so it's a side mic. So I just really want to just go on the record. He just yelled at a kid. Like I just literally just watched that.
I didn't yell at him at all.
I heard his voice and I'm just like.
He didn't scream at him.
I was trying to think the whole time, how am I going to approach this? Because I don't want to come across like I'm yelling at these people's kids. So I just went out and I said, hey, excuse me, guys. We're recording a podcast right now. Picking up a lot of noise. They're kids, so they know what a podcast is. Right? So I'm like, picking up a lot of noise. If you don't mind, you can move down the sidewalk a little bit. And he's like, oh, yeah, sure. I was like, all right, cool.
But he actually said, if you don't mind moving down to the side, the Trini accent, so you can translate that right quick.
Translate over.
A year of being with Jay, I kind of picked up. I feel like I'm Trini at times now.
Yo, I love the energy, man. I love the energy. But what's been going on? Anything? What's been going on?
Still kicking and screaming figuratively and literally.
Right.
Right. Obviously, the whole coronavirus thing has impacted the business and that type of thing, but we improvise, adapt, and overcome. You know what I mean? So we make things happen regardless.
Absolutely. Now, there has always just been something I've always wanted to ask you. And I remember me and you talked about it a while back. And me and you, this was the first conversation that me and you ever really had. And like, we always had this conversation like in a place where it's like, well, we can finally like now, this is the chance where we can actually have that conversation. Yeah. But what is the difference between being hungry and starving?
Oof. You can go hungry.
Mm-hmm.
Like people say, oh, I'm hungry. Right? You don't hear people say I'm starving necessarily. Right? If you're hungry, you can continue to go hungry. If you're starving, that only lasts so long before you die. Right? Mm-hmm. So if you meet an animal in the wild, right? I'm sure most people have seen that video of it's a leopard, I believe, or a jaguar that goes into this body of water and attacks an alligator or
I know what you're
crocodile,
talking about, yeah.
right? I guarantee you that big cat wasn't just hungry, right? Because he took himself out of his element into another alpha's element, right? Safe to say, the alligator, the crocodile, whatever, they are the alpha in the body of water in comparison to a big cat, right? So he took himself out of that element and took that risk because he was starving. Because he thought, if I don't eat this thing right here, I'm not gonna make it till tomorrow, right? I might not make it till tonight, right? I think that's the biggest difference between hungry and starving. If you're hungry, you can continue to go hungry. It takes you a while to get to the point of starving. And starvation ends up in forcing you to do things that you probably wouldn't normally do, right? Things that are outside of your comfort zone. Things that you would probably have never done under any other circumstance, if not only for survival. I think that's one of the biggest, that's like the primary difference between being hungry and being starving.
You know,
You put us both together. You said the energy. Once me and him start talking over here, you know, it's like a.
you know, like the whole time, like, you know, and this is the crazy part, is like the whole time I'm thinking like, damn, man, like, you know, they both here. You know, I really want to just, but nah, you can't, like, all right, we'll do 2 different episodes and then do the third episode as.
He's gonna have his turn, but I live by my words. We can all eat. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm proud of my team. I'm like, that's
100%, 100%.
I'm proud of what we're doing. So like, I'm not gonna not bring him into he's part of the reason why I survived in California. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not gonna not. Even if it's just a few minutes to close it down and y'all pick it up where y'all left off. But,
oh, I like that.
You know?
I like that. And just, I ain't even about to do the outro, man. Shout out to Brainstorm Fitness. Once again, shout out to you, gentlemen. Like,
boy, shout out to you. You understand? Because when we first met, I was seeing videos and little clips of you sitting in a closet.
oh,
You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? I was seeing little clips of you sitting in a closet with some shelving in the background and some kicks and some dirty candies on the floor.
100%.
Right?
100%.
And it wasn't a rig like this. You didn't have this articulating arm and all this other kind of madness from Mike, you know what I'm saying? So, big ups, my boy, right? Author, podcast, sound engineer, all this other kind, like, you doing things that that wasn't a thing once upon a time. This wasn't a thing, right? Like, so people tell me all the time, oh, you need to speak, you should talk, you should this, you should that.
I agree.
And they don't necessarily understand what that even looks like, right? Both from a logistics standpoint, both from what it takes to actually start. I couldn't even begin to tell you where to start to do a podcast. You know what I'm saying? So big ups to you, my boy. And I know this is only the beginning still, right?
100%.
Everything is transitional, like you talked about. Going to the East Coast, we already talked about that, right? About preparing to go, IT course, dojo, etc., etc. Like now, the circle of influence grows, the expectation is higher, right? So one of the biggest things that we've always done since we first met is kind of just check each other. Hey, what's this? What's going on with this? What's going on with that? You know what I'm saying? So, and a lot of times, and I'll shut up now because if not, we're
Oh,
gonna
no. Because me and you were on it. I was going to bring up the movie that me and you did.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. I forgot all about that. Right, but at the end of the day, one of the things that I've been seeing a lot, and Brian talked about it, like G-Man talked about it, is that people don't like to get checked nowadays, right? They see it as negative, they see it as hating, and so on and so forth. But boy, if I don't rock with you, I ain't gonna tell you nothing, right?
100%.
I won't say anything to you. I can just watch you fail or watch you do whatever, or watch you learn from your own mistakes or whatever the case is. So we get that a lot, especially if G-Man talks about all the time about being a gorilla, right? A gorilla can move in silence or he can bring the whole house down, right? But the presence that we all bring, right? People who aren't, like this is one of the first times I've ever been around, like had so many alphas in my circle, right? Because normally, we roll alone, right? You walk into a room, you figure out who the weak ones are real quick, you eat them, and then we take over everything.
100%.
And I'm going to put it out there, like we talk about, that's what's going to happen when you get to the base. Period. Right? But that's kind of just how we operate. You know what I mean? So, for all of us to be together, whether it's literally in the same physical space or Virginia, New York, Florida, Vegas, San Diego, Texas, whatever the case might be. You know what I mean, that's new for me. But that's what I relish in. I relish in it. I don't know if I can curse on the podcast.
No, that's 100%. Yes, you can cuss on the podcast.
I crave shit talking.
Yes.
Right? And I realized this the other day. That was one of the things I realized that I missed the most about being around people like yourself is talking shit. Mm-hmm. Right? Because you can't do that with most people. You can't do that with, I say regular people, right? Because we're not regular people.
100%.
So,
100%.
you can't really do that with regular people. You can't call people on the shit. Be like, yo, what the fuck is this? Like,
shaving.
Yeah, right. Those shoes are tight, but they're not left over right with a bridge. And that's a tight ass fucking shave you got. You know what I'm saying? Like, because people will be like, oh, they're one, you're gonna be like, oh, why you hating? Mm-hmm. Or they'll be like, why you just talking shit? You're just talking shit because whatever, call it jealousy, call it this, call it that. But I tell people, I say, yo, people don't have anything I want. You know what I mean? But if I check you, it's because I know you're better than that.
Me and Koke were just talking about this, and we were just saying, like, a lot of people, like, you got to appreciate the ones that are going to hold you accountable.
Yeah. I appreciate that more than the ones who...
People will literally sit there, they'll watch you sink.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? They'll watch you get your 4th DUI. They'll watch you, beat the hell out of your wife. They'll watch you do the things that you're not supposed to do. Or let me even take the negative out. They'll allow you to be stagnant, knowing that you're capable of so much more. And be okay with that. Like, I want to be told, like, yo, Meech, like, you could be a lot more. Like, if you took this serious, you could take it to the next level. Like, that's what love really is.
We did it on not to bring it up, and we got all day, but we did it on the live. Remember you one time you went on the live?
I remember that. So to give it a little context. So I remember, G-Man has always just been like a hidden figure within like a lot of like if you ever like seen like my podcast antics, G-Man has really been like a hidden figure behind a lot of things. I could talk about San Diego, but like G-Man has been a real big hidden figure. And I remember I had just started getting into the flow of like going live. And I remember I go live and I start asking questions, but I got frustrated. You know what I mean? Because people weren't answering fast as I was answering the questions. And I had only been on live and my live was already building up. And I ended up just getting frustrated, cutting it off. Because I was just like, why am I even on here? Y'all not interacting. Yeah. And it was just frustrating. Immediately, I get a message. And it's from G-Man. He says, yo, you got to have a plan when you go on these lives. Also, you also need to allow people time to type out what they're trying to say. Yeah. Because I was in the middle of answering your question, but you got frustrated and pulled it off. That right there. One, it takes love to be able to tell somebody that, but it also takes a certain level of maturity to be able to receive that.
Oh, absolutely.
And I had to check myself. And I read the message, and then I got back on live again. And I was on live for like 30 minutes, actually engaging with everybody.
Yeah, just talking, because at the end of the day, you can save it live, you can put it out there, people will still hear you, and then it'll stay up, So regardless of the facts, I was just like, we're always watching, we gotta help each other out, man. We gotta help each other out. People don't like doing that.
100%.
But we're a team, man. We're family, believe it or not. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for having able to do that, because if I didn't do it, nobody else is gonna do it. Mm-hmm. If he doesn't do it, nobody else is gonna do it.
100%.
So we need that.
100%. If this had to be my last episode in California, I'm glad that it was done here. Like, thank you, gentlemen. I really appreciate y'all.
So when he called me, he's like, hey, each one drop the podcast. Like, we do it in your house, it's gonna be loud, echoing, etc., etc. Like, can we go up to the gym? I'm like, he already knows the key. You know the key code. He knows the alarm. You know what I mean? So my home is your home always, man. The same thing across the board.
I appreciate that. Once again, if you didn't realize it, we in the middle of Brainstorm Fitness right now, shooting this episode. It seems like ever since I tore down my house and like as I'm moving out, I've been doing episodes and I did an episode in the park. Yeah, I did it in a car. It's been wild. It's been a different experience lately.
That's good though. You add that to the mix,
I'm excited.
I don't know what happened to that movie. I don't know what happened. I haven't got no messages. I don't know if the movie ever dropped.
Apparently, like I got with one of the screenwriters.
Yeah.
And
so quick backstory. The first time Meech and I met in person was through Koke.
Right.
Koke was like, hey, I got an opportunity to be in this movie. We're gonna play SWAT.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to Koke.
Like SWAT team members, but the whole movie is in Spanish.
And
That's
me
cool,
and G-Man don't speak Spanish.
Right.
No,
I don't speak Spanish, right? So they were like, oh, there's not necessarily talking lines, and the people, the director, etc., they speak English. So it's like, all right, cool. So a couple hours drive up to LA, we chopping it up, walk into this house. Apparently, the part of town is like the porn capital of the world.
Yes, we were in the valley.
So I was like, oh, wait, hold on. What kind of movie is this?
It's on. I don't think it's
But that was a fun day. The next day, I think I got coronavirus. Matter of fact.
Oh yeah.
I got super sick the day after that.
So I remember we're doing the episode, and I remember you coming up to like, this is my first real conversation with George Anthony, and I remember he asked me, he's like, so what's your story? I'm in character.
Yeah.
I got the SWAT suit on.
So I think I'm talking to Meech, right? He gives me like the SWAT team character. You know what I mean?
I looked at him. I told him, I was like, I'm a rookie. I'm a rookie on the force. Coke brought me on. I'm coming from homicide. Over into SWAT. He's like, what? I was like, oh, you want to know me? Like, I'm a character. Oh. And then, so needless to say, because me and George Anthony don't speak, the language of the movie, we're SWAT, but we're the other team. We're
B team. Right. Put these guys in the back.
Right.
No English in this one.
And this lady, she comes out because we like one of the weapons falls to the ground. It breaks, and like she's upset.
They have false weapons, right? Fake weapons, super cheap. Not for nothing. Like honestly, positive control weapon type of thing, right? But I literally leaned it up against the wall, bumped into it, it fell over, thing broke into a million pieces. She came out. I was like, oh snap! And then prior to that, right? It was funny because she came out. She's like, what happened? Totally unprompted. Meech was like, it was my fault.
My bad.
And it totally wasn't his fault. It was all my fault, right? Because I set the weapon down. And when he did that, instantly I was like, fuck with this guy.
Yeah.
He was like, I was like, yo, this man put his neck. You know what I'm saying? He dove in. He jumped in front of the bullet. Just like that. And we had just met. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, all right, bye.
Gotcha.
She was livid though. She
was not happy about that. She was not happy about that.
She's like, oh, I gotta take this back. She's like, I have some glue or something. I was like, hey, chill out. You know what I'm saying? Like, calm down. If you needed Doc might pay to replace it with weapon or whatever, it's not a big
That's
deal.
probably why we never got paid for that.
Yeah.
That's probably why we never got paid.
Because I'm broke. I feel that positive control my fucking weapon at all times.
Now we know.
But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, please pay attention to the show notes because not only will my handle be there, but these gentlemen's handle will be there. Also, Brainstorm Fitness, all of that. MSTANY, all of that. You already know the fucking vibes.
Let's go!
And just like that, another extraordinary thought left this ordinary mind. I hope you enjoyed this episode half as much as I enjoyed making it. Stay tuned Mondays and Fridays. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Meech Speaks. Once again, that's Meech Speaks. Meech is spelled Meech. Don't forget to share this podcast, subscribe to this podcast, follow this podcast, pass this podcast to somebody because this podcast was dedicated to helping everyone become a better version of themselves. Even though I don't know what that type of version is, I just know that you can be better. Lastly, don't forget to grab your copy of The Extraordinary Thought from the Ordinary Mind, available on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles. I think there's an electrical copy. You know what it is. Stay hungry, stay motivated. I'm out.